iOS 11.2 has landed. The 7th update to iOS 11 is one of the biggest yet, containing the most new features since iOS 11. But it is also the most rushed yet, with Apple breaking its usual release schedule to push this out late Friday night to combat a serious restart bug. Consequently, it arrives unfinished, so, with previous rushed iOS 11 releases suffering badly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should you upgrade? In a word, no. Here's everything you need to know. 2 is iOS 11.24. Like every iOS 11 release, iOS 11.2 is compatible with the iPhone 5s or later, iPad mini 2 or later, and 6th generation iPod Touch or later. iOS 11.2 automatically notifies compatible devices to upgrade. Expect nagging if you don't, but if this hasn't happened for you, it can be triggered manually by going to Settings, General Software Update. Tip: Apple iOS beta testers, you may have to unroll your device for the update to appear. The deal breakers. If your iPhone, iPad or iPod Touch is jailbroken, beware, because iOS 11.2 will break it. Interestingly, hackers have made progress in opening up iOS 11, more so than iOS 10, so an iOS 11.2 jailbreak may come soon, but until it does, steer clear. Meanwhile, looking closely at overall stability, the initial picture after 24 hours is perhaps as mixed as you might expect for such a clearly rushed update. Apple iOS 11.2 verdict: unless you have the restart bug, hold fire, especially if you own an iPhone X. So here's the deal: if your iPhone is a victim of the restart bug, then iOS 11.2 is for you. Whatever other problems it introduces, they are not as bad as not being able to operate your smartphone. So cross your fingers and upgrade. But for everyone else, I would advise you hold off. iOS 11.2 is so rushed, I simply don't trust it, and it hasn't made a good impression when A, the headline feature doesn't actually work, B, security content is coming soon, and C, it's breaking the biggest new technology in the iPhone X, and a restart isn't working for everyone. Heck, even its content's description is inaccurate, especially if you live outside the US. I suspect, in time, Apple will admit iOS 11 was a generation with far too many rushed updates, and iOS 11.2 is likely the nadir in what has been a terrible week for Apple software. But don't expect that admission anytime soon, so, until then, don't be a guinea pig. It just works, feels like a distant memory at the moment. The one which should catch your eye most is faster Qi wireless charging support for the iPhone X, iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus, and this boosts the maximum charge rate from 5 watts to 7.5 watts. Unfortunately, that's still a long way below the 15 watts peak wireless charge rates Qi supports, and in reality it only charges mildly quicker than 5 watts, primarily in the last 30%, but it's a start. Expect 15 watts support to come via a proprietary Apple Power standard in early 2018. Of course, while it isn't specifically name-checked, iOS 11.2 fixes the entire reason for its rushed release too, the restart bug. It also doesn't name, but patches, the ridiculous autocorrect typing bug. Finally, yet another sign of how much Apple rushed this release. At the time of publication, Apple's official security page simply lists security information as details available soon. Unlike the minor point releases, iOS 11.2 is expected to have security patches, but there's no way to tell what they are. Again, I'll update you should they prove to be significant. The road ahead. Usually I can tell you about the next version of iOS which Apple is beta testing, but not this time. Why? Because iOS 11.2 itself was meant to still be in beta testing, so nothing else is in the pipe. That said, I feel very confident in making the following prediction: expect an iOS 11.2.1 bug fix in the very near future.